Okay, I am back one more time. I think we're having a little technical glitch here. So I was on live for about 20 minutes, so you can certainly go back and watch the replay. And I was talking about how I wasn't sure if I was actually live because I didn't see anyone sticking with me. So I chose to shut down that live and I'm back in the feed here just to be sure that if you have any burning questions today, I'm certainly happy to answer them. My name is Annette Conrad, and I am the owner and lead creative for a company called Edible Impressions, and I'm also a moderator in this Facebook group. And a couple months back, you may have watched a replay when the group hit 40,000 members. And so now I can't believe it's been exactly 2 months to the day. So it was August 13th, and today is October 13th. And I can't believe that the group has grown from 40,000 to 43,000 members. So it is so wonderful and exciting to see so many people fall in love with the art of the decorated cookie. So welcome, welcome. If you are watching, please just confirm that I am indeed live and where you're broadcasting from, and then start with your questions. I'm excited to be here for the purpose of answering your questions. It's fun to be part of the Facebook group, and it's fun to post your questions and read the responses, but this is an opportunity for you to actually hear and see the responses to your burning questions. So I will stay on for just a little bit longer just to see. So hello, Michelle. Thank you. I appreciate you being here live. Shout out any questions that you have. And right away, I will just introduce you to Michelle Ingalls. I know her very well. She is the creator of an incredible product, which is Sugar Prism. Premium art products, edible paints, the only paints that I use. So welcome, Michelle. She's a super amazing artist as well, and very engaging in the group and many other Facebook groups. So she also has a Facebook group if you want to learn how to hand paint. I do encourage you to check her out. So, oh yes, love you, Michelle. Hope you're having a good week. So, okay, so one of the things, like I said, I'm here as a representative of all the moderators and the admin of this Facebook group. I want to just give a really, really quick shout out to those admins and moderators. So, Eddie Shannon Ritchie, Tammy Lynette Larson, Elizabeth Johnson Brooks, Julie Marie Ritchie, Joss Lewis Dean, Miriam Kentner, Joe Allen Stewart, Rachel Mark, and myself, Annette Conrad, are all community members, and we're here to help you and support you in your journey of learning how to decorate cookies. So it's really exciting. I know 2 months ago I was on, and the group had reached 40,000 members, which is incredible. Well, I'm happy to say exactly to the day, October 13th, and the group is passing 43,000. So it is amazing. There are lots and lots of Facebook groups out there, but this is one of my favorites. So I have my own Facebook group. So if you're out there learning to transform your hobby to a business, I welcome you. I'm not here to really self-promote, but I'm there to help you. I have over 24 years of event planning experience and 20 years of running my business. I welcome you to come over to that group. But part of why I'm here is to answer your questions. So please take advantage of my knowledge and expertise and the other folks that are here online with you, and get your answers, the answers to your questions live. And I also am here to make an announcement. I did promise 2 months ago when I came on for that past live Q&A to announce two of the winners that will be receiving an all access pass to this year's cookie holiday cookie-a-thon, which is put on by the colorful cookier, Nancy Westfall. And this year, my company is a mixer level sponsor. So my hobby to business made simple business is a sponsor as a mixer level. And so what was really wonderful is I'm able to give away 4 all access passes, which are a $97 value. So I did select 2 winners from that August broadcast. So Renee Bustilloas, I want to make sure I say her last name correctly, and Linda Patissis. So I am going to send you both DMs congratulating you and giving you some information on how to obtain your all access pass, which is a $97 value. Now, what the heck am I talking about this holiday cookie-a-thon? I just want to let you know you can go to, let's see here. If you want to learn more about the holiday cookie-a-thon, I'm just going to put their Facebook page there because you can join. It's a public page, and it basically, very quickly, is a 4-day live demonstration and pre-recorded demonstration of every kind of decorating technique you can think of. So it's a semi-annual live marathon of instructors literally around the globe. And so you can watch for free. You can watch all these tutorials for free November 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So go to the Cookie-a-thon Facebook group and tag that event. But it is limited access, so you only get to watch it for the weekend. But if you want a lifetime access to all the demonstrations and all the videos for life, it's you can purchase an all access pass. So anyway, I don't want to go too much more into the Cookie-a-thon. That's not why I'm here officially. I just wanted to announce the winners of those free passes that I gave away as part of being part of this community. So really as a thank you. So again, congratulations to Renee Bustilloas and Linda Patisis. So thank you so much. So hey, Michelle, looks like you're working on some chocolate covered ding dongs. Oh my gosh, that sounds absolutely delicious. And I'm curious to know, are you going to be painting those ding dongs after they're chocolate covered dipped? And are they white chocolate or dark chocolate? So I'm just really curious. So yeah, and share a picture if you don't mind with the community. That would be awesome. So, all right, well, I'm here to answer your questions. So just shout them out. If you have any questions, hello, Nancy. Nice to see you. She's tuning in from Erie, Pennsylvania. So thanks for joining. So what else can I tell you? Oh, I can tell you also in the Facebook group, my other 2 tickets, if you're wondering, because like I said, I had 4 passes to give away. Congratulations to Letitia, who is one of my community members and part of my membership community. She runs Tisha's Tasty Treats. And then Lori Godkin also is the other winner. And she has Sweet Country Creations. So both ladies are just rocking it with their businesses. And we had a great group coaching call yesterday, which was really fantastic. But I congratulate those 2 ladies as well. So, all right. So what are your questions? Or do I need to make some up? Because, my grandmother used to call me at radio. So there's never a dull moment when I'm in the room. So, here's something that we can talk about. So this morning in my Facebook group, I do what's called Rapid Fire Friday. So I pick 5 questions and scenarios from the past week, and I answer them in rapid fire format. So maybe I'll just pull one of those from this morning's Rapid Fire Friday. And if you are interested and you want to join that Facebook group, again, it's free, no strings attached. There's no membership needed, but Cookie Decorating Hobby to Business Made Simple is another group that a lot of you I know are part of, and vice versa. So I'm the admin for that group, and I've got some free resources over there as well. So one of the questions this morning for the Rapid Fire Friday that I addressed was, here's the scenario, and then I always kind of respond. So do I have to individually package cookies before freezing? I am a hobby cookier, and I'm making about 150 cookies for a wedding on October 21st. Planning on starting them on October 10th. After they harden, can I stack them in containers and then freeze them? What a great question. So whether you're watching the replay or not, I know at some point everybody wonders about freezing cookies. Can I do it, and how do I do it? So here's my take on this. So first of all, I would encourage you to start the decorating and actually finish the decorating from start to finish before you freeze your cookies. So I want to bust one of those myths that some people think that you can't freeze fully decorated cookies. Of course, you always want to take in consideration the decorations because you don't want those to be compromised. So if you're doing any kind of 3-dimensional floral with petals, you want to be very, very careful about not stacking them on top of each other because you don't want them to chip when they are stacked or put in the freezer. But if you have a design that's flat and doesn't seem like it would be compromised, I really encourage you to finish that cookie design completely and then put them in your cellophane bag. Heat seal them if you're finishing them off with a ribbon and even a tag. Yes, even that personalized tag. If that's your finished product, go ahead and wrap them, put them in a box, like a shipping box that's very secure, and then saran wrap the entire box. So I do this when I freeze orders, when I'm working ahead of schedule, typically October, November, December, when we really scale up. And so I'm very confident that those cookies will not be compromised in any way. There's no bleeding, there's no cracking, the taste is delicious. And so I save myself a lot of time by not just freezing partially decorated cookies or stacking them with parchment in between, because what I'm doing now is I'm adding another layer of tasks. And so trust it. I would always tell you to test it, but it works, and it works really well. I mean, I'm so confident that when I package an order in the freezer, in the shipping box that I'm actually going to be giving the client or shipping to the client, I don't even unwrap them. I don't open the box and look at them. I just pull them out the night before, thaw them properly, and then I just send them on their way. So, so that's just something a little bit about freezing cookies in case you are wondering about that. So, all right, what other questions do you have? Nancy, what have you been up to? Let me know if you have any questions. Michelle as well, please shout out any of your questions that you might have. I appreciate that. Otherwise, I will move on to another question. Here's one about, let's see, what is a question, a challenge that comes up quite often? Should we talk about cratering? Cratering, it can be really frustrating. And I think for many of you in this community, learning to work with the royal icing consistencies can be probably the biggest challenge. So my word of advice on, the idea of working with royal icing as a medium and then avoiding those pesky craters. And what is a crater? It's kind of when the icing decides to cave in on itself, or there maybe is an air bubble underneath your flooding, and as it dries, it starts to collapse. So there are many, many variables that can cause cratering, and a couple of them, and I know I did a masterclass on this and went very, very in depth on the 10 most common mistakes that a person makes with royal icing. But part of it can be from the very beginning with when you're mixing your royal icing. So depending on your recipe, of course, you always want to use high quality ingredients. But my tips to making really nice royal icing that's not going to crater or collapse on you is not using the whisk. So that's one tip. So use the paddle. When you're making royal icing, it is a slow and steady process. So I use the paddle. I put in all the water. I put all the meringue powder. Before I add the water, let me back up here, I mix the powder ingredients together so it avoids any kind of clumping. But it's slow and steady. So from start to finish, when I make a big batch, I'm using 3 cups of meringue powder. So you can imagine it is a big batch of royal icing. It takes about a good 15 to 20 minutes to make the batch from start to finish. So, take your time, don't rush it. And I think sometimes the cratering can happen from the icing being a little bit too loose. So if you have too much water, it really just becomes quite heavy. And that's where sometimes it collapses. It could also be from drying too. So, all right. So I'm going to give it just here another minute. I'm a little sad that not more people joined live, and I really don't see many questions. But if you're watching the replay, go ahead and post your questions. I will come back periodically to monitor the feed to see if there were any burning questions. And it could be the time of the day. I know folks are working. So, but I'll just hang for another minute or two here and see what other questions you might have. Let's see. Oh, Nancy, thank you. I see a question. I can't talk a mile a minute here, but sometimes it's nice to have a conversation, especially when you're live. So thank you so much. So her question is, how big is your batch of royal icing? How big is the batch? Oh my gosh, it's several gallons, but I'll just give you my quantities of ingredients. So it's 3 cups of meringue powder. It is 2 7-pound bags of powdered sugar. So it's 14 pounds of powdered sugar, 3 cups of meringue, and then I generally do 5.5 cups of water. So that is a nice kind of hybrid consistency. So it's not necessarily ready for flooding, and it's not going to be your thick piping consistency, but I love that in between hybrid consistency, because then it's easy for me to loosen or it's easy for me to thicken. And that is actually the ideal consistency of my icing for my cookie decorating kits. So that's that middle of the road consistency, which allows my attendees to be able to outline and also flood with a single consistency. Now, when they are decorating, and I do that in my virtual experiences, is they do need to tap and shake a little bit to get that nice smooth. But I love the 5.5 cups of water with 14 pounds. I know 14 pounds, but I love going to Costco because they have the super fine powdered sugar in a 7-pound bag. So I figured out my recipe that I don't have to measure my powdered sugar. It's 2 bags right out from Costco, and then the 3 cups of meringue. And then I do, to make my royal icing a bit more rich, I add some pure vanilla extract. And then I also do like to add a little bit of corn syrup just to soften that bite. So you're going to find out, if you're new to the community, new to decorating, if you're struggling and you're not quite understanding, well, why is my frosting so hard and crunchy after it dries? That's the meringue doing its thing. But if you want to have more of a softer bite, so that after it hardens, it will still harden. It's not going to be soft like some fondant or buttercream where you can stack your cookies, of course. But that corn syrup, just a touch. So for the batch that I'm making, I put about 4 to 6 tablespoons. So not a ton, but just enough where it's going to soften that bite. It's not going to be very crunchy and chalky, if you will. So yeah, so Nancy, it looks like you're working with 2 pounds of powdered sugar. Yeah, so it is a big batch, but just a disclaimer here, my team and I have a very small team of cookie decorators that I was a solo entrepreneur for a long time. And then, but I, also had my sister that I was working with for many years, but now I have a couple of decorators. And so I don't do all of the cookies myself, but we do large batch. So right now, I mean, this past week, we pumped out, I didn't want to say a couple hundred. It was more like a couple thousand. We're working on 200 cookie kits right now for next week for a virtual experience that will be October 26th. So yeah, for those of you that are out there that think that in-person or virtual experiences are not profitable, I want to debunk that right away, because they can be, and they very much are. So yeah, great question about the royal icing. And maybe I'll just stay on that topic for just a little bit until I see the next question. But there are a lot of questions, especially for those that are just starting and they're new to the craft. Does your royal icing need to be refrigerated? That is a question that comes up quite often. And I'm going to say yes and no. So you don't necessarily have to refrigerate, but it is a nice little trick. It's a nice little hack that if you're not going to use up your frosting, to avoid the separation, because you can imagine 5.5 cups of water is a lot of water. And eventually that water, no matter how big your batch is going to start to settle. It's going to start to separate from that meringue powder and that powdered sugar. It's very natural. There's nothing wrong with your frosting, but it's a nice little hack to know that if you make your frosting, you're not going to use it all. You can put it in an airtight container or put your frosting bags right in the freezer or the refrigerator. What's going to happen is it's not going to freeze 100%, but it's just going to chill it enough where you're not going to get that separation. You can also put your frosting in the freezer for much, much later. And I do that because I have a client who has a very specific color. It's actually like the color of my shirt that I'm wearing. It's this beautiful wine, kind of rustic brownish red. And it's a little tricky to make. So because we are doing only 36 to 72 cookies at a time for this company, but they order periodically throughout the month, we make a big batch. We use what we need, and then we put them in the freezer so that we don't have to recreate that color 4 or 5 times a month. We're making it essentially once a month or maybe every 2 months, depending on how many times they order. So, but I will say one more thing about the icing is when you are pulling it out of the refrigerator, when you are pulling it out of the freezer, allow that frosting to come back to room temperature. And I know this from experience because I made the mistake of not letting it come back to room temperature, and I was thinning out the frosting, and I was thinning out the frosting, and I put way too much water. So that by the time, and it was a little too late because after I started flooding, it flooded beautifully, right? It flooded beautifully. But what happened is I was using multiple colors, and I not only experienced some craters in the small pockets of the design, but I also had bleeding. So too much moisture in your frosting can definitely cause color bleeding. So color bleeding is kind of where you see the colors blending together. So you see a little fogginess, especially with dark colors next to lighter colors. I could go on about just that for an entire episode. But so yeah, be very careful when you pull that frosting out of that cool storage to make sure it comes back to room temperature before you start thickening or thinning it, because it will be deceiving. When it starts to cool, it'll actually become softer and looser. And so you don't want to make that mistake. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Nancy. She said she loves to see my posts for the big jobs. Yeah, so if you're in my community, the Cookie Decorating Hobby to Business Made Simple, I periodically show our workflow, our behind the scenes, and I hope to do more of that. Just to be able to show, that, what I'm saying, what I'm preaching is the reality, and I'm not exaggerating. I mean, when I say 200 cookie kits, I will show that to you, throughout the process. And what does that mean? Right now, we are putting boxes together. We are creating the sprinkle sets. We're actually creating the sprinkles royal icing transfers right now. In fact, my sister is working upstairs right now in my commercial grade kitchen. I do not follow the food cottage laws. I do have a food processing plant license. So if you are interested, want to ask me any questions about that, please do so. And again, if you're watching this replay, you weren't able to ask your questions live, I welcome you to DM me. So feel free to do that or post it right in the community and just tag me, Annette Conrad, and I'd be happy to chime in. So, but yeah, I could not do, if I could just do a little plug here, I could not do those big orders without having some help. And I think that's something that people struggle with too when they're decorating cookies, whether it is just for family or friends, and they're taking on a wedding or a special milestone for a family, that, find yourself a baking buddy, yourself a decorating buddy. You don't have to do it alone. And that's why I just love these communities, because you might be working by yourself, but it's just nice to know you can go online and reach out to a fellow cookier and ask a question, ask for advice. And I mean, we live in an awesome time right now to be able to have this ability to connect with people online. So that's great. But yeah, thank you. And like I said, I could not do it without my team. So, all right. Other questions or wonderments? Let's see. Yeah, so just if you're curious, I'm broadcasting from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I've enjoyed being a moderator in this group. It really has been great. I appreciate Edie and all the moderators. Her and I kind of met just online. I became a part of the group, and I saw she had a call out for moderators, and I sent a DM and introduced myself, and it's been a wonderful experience. And I'm so excited for her and for the entire community as it's just growing by leaps and bounds. And it's just a really welcoming group. So if you are new to the community, know that it's a safe place to ask your questions. There is no silly question, honestly. And you can always use the little magnifying glass in the upper right-hand corner of the main page of the group if you want to search for a specific topic. People are more than willing to help, and they're there to ask and to answer your questions and share. So yes, thank you, Nancy. Sylvia is a gem. Yes, Sylvia Schwartz, and she is a gem. Her and I have been decorating. She's my older sister, and we both have a love and passion for decorating. And she recently retired from nursing, and she's now working with me pretty regularly, and we're having a ball. So it's been really great. And she's super talented, super patient. She is so efficient too. She's like my custom logo cookie queen, as I like to call her. Nobody can keep up with her pace. So it's awesome, and but high quality too. So Sylvia, if you're watching this or the replay, yes, you are a gem. Love you to death. So, and her and I actually just traveled recently If I could, since nobody is asking a question right now, see how I can just go off on a tangent. Her and I went to the Jersey Shore Cake and Cookie Show in on the Jersey Shore. So it was at the university, and it was wonderful. In fact, it was a 3 day, actually 2 full day of convention, but 1 day full of like the pre-convention was they had classes throughout the day. And so Michelle Ingalls, who I introduced earlier, who was on a moment ago, who is the creator of Sugar Prism Premium Art Products, she was there and had a booth, and she actually taught a class as well, which was really fun to help her set up for that. But long story short, where I'm going with this is Sylvie and I did travel, and if you are pondering, maybe CookieCon or attending a class or traveling somewhere. I mean, what we did was we made it dual purpose. So it was really fun to be able to take a little break. It was my way to offer some staff development for her and for myself. We were able to go to the cookie show to kind of see what was new and trending, which was kind of fun. And I will mention one thing that I picked up that I cannot wait to try. Yeah, and it just so happened to be that my son was in New York. So it was so fun. We flew into Newark. Here's just really a quick story. Drove to New York, parked the car for the day, spent the day in New York, kind of kidnapped my son. We drove down to the Jersey Shore, spent the night there, and then we drove to Philly for the day, got him to the airport, and then came back to the Jersey Shore. So it was so fun. And unfortunately, the weather wasn't very cooperative, but we made the best of it and actually had a wonderful opportunity. I have to actually come over here and show you. We took full advantage of the fact that it was raining for 2 days. And so if you're pondering taking a class, but you're wondering, oh, you know what? I don't know. It's kind of a big investment. It's kind of pricey. But you know what? Don't pass up the opportunity to have a wonderful experience. And I want to show you this beautiful glass blown candy dish that I made. Okay, I had a professional working with me, but her and I decided to somewhat spontaneously sign up for a class. We were walking down the main strip on the Jersey Shore and saw this beautiful storefront that had professional glass blowers. And so you could purchase items or you could sign up for a class. So we kind of walked in, looked around them and left. And then we realized it was pouring the next day. We're like, wait a minute, we should go back and do a glass blowing class. And I tell you, like I said, it was a little pricey, but you know what? In a year from now, I'm not going to remember what I paid for this class. But now I have this beautiful bowl that I will cherish for years to come. And it was really, really cool seeing up close and personal how they craft these bowls. It was amazing. So worth every penny. So, again, my point here about bringing that up is if you are going to be investing in these activities, just think of it as an investment, not necessarily a cost. So for me, yes, this isn't related to cookies, but it just gave me an appreciation for colors and just the craft itself and that it's handmade. So I'm going off on a tangent here, but it was really, really a really neat experience. So, but yeah, so now CookieCon, again, I'm just going to keep going here, but I'm probably going to sign off in a few minutes because between my first live and this live, I think we're close to 60 minutes. But I did want to mention that, that's a decision that you need to make on your own. Now, I chose the Jersey Shore Cake and Cookie Show because it was presented to me by a fellow cookier and someone who I knew that I could go help support. So Michelle, and it wasn't going to be as large as, like, let's say CookieCon. And so I knew that I could go to the show and have some restraint because what you don't want to do is go to these shows and buy everything. I mean, your eyes get really wide and you feel like you need to buy everything. So whether you are a hobbyist or whether you're transforming your business or your hobby to a business, don't get into that trap of feeling like you need every single tool out there. I mean, yes, it's fun. And yes, I have a lot of tools, but again, I've been decorating for over 18 years. But I tell you, I have tools and little supplies that are for my hobby, and I have some for my business, and some do overlap, but there is a big difference from having a hobby to having a business. You have to kind of learn to take off that hobby hat, put that business hat on. But anyway, so I've resisted going to CookieCon, the really big one, because I'm afraid I'm going to come back with all this stuff I really don't need. But never say never. Never say never. So maybe I'll go and maybe teach a class, and maybe that will give me, again, a multi-purpose reason to go, but we'll see. Jury's still out. So I've talked to Sylvia because if she wants to go, maybe I'll go with her. So anyway, but the last thing I'll mention, because I did allude to the fact that I did pick up one gem at actually a couple, but I'll mention one in particular. So I have an Eddy. So if you're not familiar with what an Eddy is, I still do offer the sugar paper printed custom logos and artwork, but I did pick up an Eddy printer, which allows me to airbrush with edible ink onto a pre-frosted cookie. So there's a Facebook group for the Eddy. So if you want to familiarize yourself with that piece of equipment, and that's something that I waited many years to purchase. So talk about an investment. And for me, it was an investment. It was not a cost. Long story short, I purchased it specifically for a job, which essentially paid for it, which was awesome. So that was the bonus. But where I'm going with this is when I was at the show, there was a gal who had created a template via the 3D technology. And I do have a 3D, and here's the thing, I have a 3D printer, but I didn't want to bother and take my time to figure out how to make this. So I purchased her 3D template. Where I'm going with this is that she created this template to use with the Eddy machine to be able to spray royal icing transfers. So I cannot wait. I know that will be a masterclass within my membership. So stay tuned or be part of my group if you want to kind of see a sneak preview of that. But that was a really cool investment. And so I'm really excited because what it's going to do is I'm going to get a return on that because I will be able to speed up the process and also have really unique and creative royal icing transfers that no one else is doing. They're going to be completely customized by me and my team. So really, really excited about that. So, okay. All right, folks. So this has been wonderful. Again, congratulations to the two winners of the All Access Pass for this year's Holiday Cookie-a-thon, Renee Bustioas and Linda Patetas. And I'm sure I'm not saying that right, but don't worry. I'm going to DM you personally. We will get you some information on how to obtain those passes and hope to see you all in the community. And thank you so much. Again, my name is Annette Conrad, and I really enjoy visiting with you. If you like these Q&As, so whether it is the live version or just being able to go back and watch the replay, please let your admin know. Send me a DM, let me know, and I will propose doing more of these more often. So, all right, folks, have a great weekend.